Hello, everyone. My name is Tom Petrie. I'm a nutritionist in Mechanicville, New York. And the purpose of my video today is to discuss metastatic breast cancer and cancer in general. And the reason I'm doing this today is because there's been a lot on the internet about this terrible condition, metastatic breast cancer, but it's also true for any cancers that have become metastatic, meaning spreading to other organs. This is an important issue to me because I lost a younger brother to metastatic lung cancer 5.5 years ago, and he had severe back pain. He went to the doctors for 4 or 5 months, at which time they gave him painkillers each time. And he didn't need painkillers. He needed an X-ray, and they found when they did the X-ray that yes, you have lung cancer that has metastasized to the lower vertebrae. He died about 6 months later. And all cancers are something that we need to be concerned about. But I'd like to address some of the common myths that have been perpetrated by a variety of videos out there. And one of them is that there is no cure, but we must continue treatment forever. This is simply not true. Now, although I would not say that there is a cure for every particular person, I mean, after all, my younger brother passed away, but we might think outside the box on this issue, much like John Christopher from the School of Natural Healing in Utah, when he said years ago, I'm talking about 1973, 74, that there are no incurable diseases, just incurable patients. And when I heard that in July of 1980, when I was studying with him at the one of the Omega Institute for Holistic Studies in New Lebanon, New York, I was shocked. I mean, how could anybody say there are no incurable diseases, just incurable patients? Let me give you a contrast. My younger brother, of course, was a lifelong smoker, and I gave him a lot of nutritional supplements to take while in jail. Not in jail, it's like a jail, the hospital. And he refused to take them. He snuck in his cigarettes whenever he could. He ate lots and lots of sugar because the doctors told him he needed to keep up his strength. And 1 year into the hospice, he said, "Tom, you have to try to save me." And of course, I tried to be supportive, but he died the next day. And the thing is, you can't yell at somebody or criticize somebody who has any kind of cancer, any stage, because it affects them negatively. They get angry, or they might get mad being told what to eat or what to take. And so this has to be part of their upbringing. So in contrast, to give you an example to prove my point, when my older brother Daniel came home from Sloan Kettering in June of 1984 and said, "Tom, I have cancer." It was testicular cancer. I said, "Well, you know what to do." And the reason I could speak that way is because I'm a nutritionist and I had known about natural therapies for cancer since I was in high school. And I wasn't buying the propaganda of the industry, the cancer industry, which it is. And so he did his wheatgrass juice every day. He did his juicing every day. He used my wheatgrass juicer, which I had been using for just general health purposes. And he did his apricot kernels every day. And he did have a grapefruit-sized tumor taken out of his stomach. And he did do cisplatin, which is a popular therapy for testicular cancer, had one testicle removed. But cancer had spread. It was metastatic cancer. It was stage 4. Yet he went to Sloan Kettering months after the surgery, and they said, "Daniel, what have you been doing?" He said, "Oh, just some herbs and some vitamins and whatnot." They go, "Well, whatever you're doing, keep doing it because you seem to not have any more cancer." Now, the cisplatin did disable him. It gave him a chronic ringing in his right ear. He's been deaf in his left ear from birth. And so now he's disabled. High IQ, can't do anything because it's ringing nonstop. But the natural therapies did it for him. So the messages on some of the videos out there are like, metastatic cancer or metastatic breast cancer is something that we don't like to talk about. Why not? It's cancer. It's severe cancer, late stage cancer. Nothing to be afraid of. We should be talking about it. But what is talking about it going to do? It's like a bunch of non-runners sitting around talking about how they're going to run their next marathon, and they don't talk about what shoes to wear. They don't talk about what kind of training to do. They don't talk about their diet. They don't talk about how to recover. They don't talk about when do you do ice baths or not. They don't talk about stretching. They don't talk about recovery runs, speed runs, long runs, tempo runs. Like they just talk around about running awareness. We need to have running awareness. What kind of nonsense is that? It's like ludicrous. We don't have to be fearful of things that we understand or that we know about, or that we know there is a huge body of data on things that we can do to both prevent and to treat cancer. Now, in terms of just general prevention, there are a number of books out there. There's certainly How to Prevent and Treat Cancer with Natural Medicine by Michael Murray. He's a naturopathic doctor. There's a book, The Cancer Prevention Program by Mitchell Gaynor, which I'm showing you right here. There's Beating Cancer with Nutrition by Patrick Quinlan, and he's had 4 editions of this book. This is probably the 2nd edition. And then there are many books on the politics of cancer. You have The Cancer Syndrome by Ralph Moss, The Politics of Cancer by Robert Epstein. You have this one, The Cancer Cover-Up, Genocide, and that is by Kathleen Deal. And you even have books that discuss the importance of oxygen. So when we look at some of these videos, like the video that has received 26 million views on YouTube by Holly Kitchen. Sadly, she passed away last year from breast cancer. Interesting about this video and all the other commentators on cancer, from the American Cancer Society to the National Cancer Institute to the Pink Ribbon people, what they what they never mention is the importance of oxygenation of your tissues. And why would this be important? Well, it was in 1943 that Otto Warburg came up with he proved that cancers thrive in a oxygen-starved environment. There's been a lot of books since that time, but can you imagine winning a Nobel Prize in medicine for discovering that cancers like oxygen-starved environments and they like acidic environments? And yet, this is, almost 75 years ago, and yet nothing has been done with this information. Yeah, we know that athletes have 1/8 or 1/7 or 1/6 the incidence of cancer of non-athletes. So that's great. Now, why do athletes have less cancer? Because they're getting their tissues better oxygenated. And yet, these popular videos and the messages from folks that are trying to educate us about cancer strangely omit the importance of oxygenating your tissues. Now, there have been a few very good books on this topic. The Edward McKay book on oxygen therapies is very beneficial. It talks about not only regular oxygen therapies, hyperbaric oxygen, hydrogen peroxide, which is H2O2, and many many health-conscious people are learning about the importance of diaphragmatic breathing, which we learned from doing yoga, the importance of sitting straight, which is why you see me constantly adjusting myself in this too comfortable chair. And of course, as I mentioned, the importance of exercise. But strangely, these things are not being mentioned by the popular emotionally charged videos like the one I mentioned earlier. Okay, so it's been said on some of these videos that I believe that no breasts equals no cancer. Now, this is a horrible idea made popular by Angelina Jolie, the world's most popular woman, according to the latest survey. And she's the one who had radical mastectomy as a preventative tool for prevention of breast cancer. Well, this is not smart because even though you may look at cancer as affecting your brain or your liver or your stomach or your breast or your testicles or your prostate gland, it is not the organ that should be blamed for the cancer, but a systemic imbalance in the body that it's too complicated to go into here, but just keep in mind that it is not the particular organ that should be stressed, even though the doctors like to say, oh, you have colon cancer, or you have brain cancer, or you have liver cancer, you have breast cancer. You don't need to be a specialist on one particular organ. You need to be a specialist on how to treat the entire body such that it can attack the imbalances within the body effectively. And this is why we have a number of holistic doctors who are treating the entire body systemically. So, for example, when you get intravenous vitamin C, which all these videos and experts in the field seem to ignore for some reason, intravenous vitamin C is strengthening the connective tissue such that the tumor is less likely to spread, because tumors like to produce an enzyme, a collagenase enzyme. Collagen is, of course, connective tissue. Collagenase, ASE, means an enzyme that digests collagen. Well, if vitamin C strengthens connective tissue, that means it's less likely that the cancer can spread. And this is why people who have cancer, and maybe they have it for years and years and years, and it just doesn't seem to go anywhere. They are often vegetarians. They may not be on any vitamin therapy, but they're not eating junk, and they have a diet relatively high in vitamin C. So the cancer can't go anywhere. It just stays there. Okay? This is something I've seen time and again. But when you're a lifelong smoker, like my brother, and you're not being given vitamin C at all, and you're on stressful chemotherapy and radiation, and you're undergoing enormous pain, I mean, you're on morphine drips and all that, pain depletes vitamin C like no tomorrow. And so the vitamin C is depleted so much that the cancer spreads very quickly. And I knew that from day one. That's what would happen if he didn't get on vitamin C, orally or by IV. And sure enough, that's what happened. Cancer spread very quickly, and he sadly passed away. So, in this, one of the popular videos, it mentions I don't want to embarrass anybody, I just want to educate. And I'm thinking about how this is so far in the opposite direction of educating us. It's not educating us, it's bringing us in the wrong direction. And I'll tell you why. There are at least 20 things that we can do to help prevent and treat cancer. Now, obviously, prevention of cancer is a lot smarter option than treating it, because treating it is much more difficult. No question about it. Even people who do alternative therapies do not always make it. We know that. But prevention is often considered to be mammography. That's prevention. Well, we know that's actually not true, because we know from the Switzerland studies done in the I think around 2004, that showed the cure rate for those having had their breast cancers diagnosed by mammography is no better than those who had it diagnosed by other means. It's simply not true. And that mammography was being overused. And only for those women at risk should get mammography below or before the age of 50. Funny, that didn't reach the popular vernacular. And Robert Epstein refers to another treatment for breast cancer, tamoxifen, an aromatase inhibitor, as a rip-roaring carcinogen, causing about 20 other side effects: severe blood clots, liver cancer, endometrial cancer, and so forth. And so, as it's fighting breast cancer in the small percentage, 5% of the women whose cancers might be helped by tamoxifen, the other 95% are being harmed by it. Did we hear that from the conventional doctors that are out there trying to educate us about breast cancer or other cancers? No. All right. So I would like to say that if we're going to become empowered or educated about not only breast cancer but all other cancers, it's very important that we keep in mind that things that we're not being told are really where the propaganda lies, as it does in the mainstream media on its coverage of so many topics. Not only what you're being told and how it's being slanted and twisted, but what you're not being told. You're not being told, for example, that vitamin D can cut your risk of 3 cancers: colon cancer, prostate cancer, and breast cancer, 50% or more. So that means instead of 1 in 7 men getting prostate cancer, 50% drop would mean 1 in 14. That's only one thing, vitamin D. For colon cancer, which afflicts something like 1 out of 15 Americans, we're looking at 1 in 30. And breast cancer, 1 in 8, we're looking at 1 in 16. That's only one change. Now, the vitamin D can also be made by exposure to UV radiation or sunshine. Now, how many times are we told, stay out of the sun, it can cause skin cancer and etc.? Well, 8,000 Americans died of metastatic skin cancer, malignant melanoma last year. But 576,000 Americans died of solid tumors. 8,000 versus 576,000. Now, how many cancers could have been prevented by adequate vitamin D? 200,000 or more. I mentioned only 3 cancers. Most cancers their risk is reduced by exposure to UV radiation or sunshine. And Michael Hollick, who wrote The UV Advantage and other books on this topic, he's a doctor from Boston, has discussed this at length, and other experts in the field have discussed this. So we're not being told about vitamin D. We're not being told about vitamin C. We're not being told about numerous herbs that are beneficial in fighting cancer. And we're not being told about how certain chemicals in our environment. We know there are 80,000 chemicals that have not been tested for safety by the EPA. We know Teflon, which resulted in a $16 million fine by the EPA against DuPont for covering up the data that showed that Teflon was found in virtually every person's body in America. Well, $16 million is not a big fine for a company that took in $25 billion in 1 year, but it was the largest fine in EPA history, Teflon. Hey, ever wonder why when you go to Macy's and you buy a set of Teflon pans, they don't call it Teflon? They took it off the market. Actually, they didn't. They just stopped calling it Teflon. They just call it non-stick cookware. So the PFOE is still the same chemical, PFOA, it's still the same chemical, Teflon, but how is it that we solve the problem by calling it something different? Wow, that's pretty amazing. So really, propaganda is in just changing a name or removing the name from public view. Teflon used to be a great thing. I mean, after all, it's used in arteries. It's non-stick chemical. It's very impervious to acid and chemicals, but it is sensitive to high heat. At 98.6 degrees, it'll stay in your arteries forever. When you start frying something and your temperatures get high, now those chemicals get into your body, in the food you're eating, and become carcinogenic. This is why bird owners are told not to bake muffins in their kitchen, because those parrots are sensitive to the chemicals that come off the pan at high temperature heating. So how many people just boil water in their Teflon pan where 212 degrees, not much will happen? You start frying, it's dangerous. Glyphosate, that's a pesticide made by Monsanto, which is a proven carcinogen, or suspected carcinogen in Europe. And quite a few studies showing that it is a suspected carcinogen. What about the cautionary principle that says if something may cause a disease or harm, maybe we should avoid it? I think it's a principle that we ought to be following. Now, the folks who are out there telling us about breast cancer awareness or awareness about metastatic cancer, and Holly Kitchen, who has that popular video with 26 million views, refers us to a metastatic breast cancer website in which one of the doctors discusses breast cancer, metastatic breast cancer, for 36 minutes. And he states that it's not curable, but it's treatable. Meaning you can be under treatment and maintain, you can stay alive. The question would be, what is the quality of that life? Because most of the conventional therapies are surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation. There's no discussion of intravenous vitamin C. There's no discussion about herbs and nutritional supplements or oxygenation of your tissues or other modalities like visualization, fresh air, sunshine, vitamin D, that can help you fight your cancer and beat it. There's no discussion about juicing. There's no discussion about vegetarian diets. There's no discussion about the avoidance of sugar. Now, I mentioned sugar because sugar feeds tumor growth. How do we know that? Well, because if you have a PET scan, they give you 100 grams of glucose within water, and you drink it down. Now, that glucose is radioactively tagged. That radioactively tagged glucose will go right to your tumor site and will light up the screen. That's how the doctor knows that how bad your tumor is, or how big it is, or how if it's shrinking or not. Now, I had a friend of mine at a hospital in Putnam County, New York, who was at the restroom when I went to visit him. So I talked to his nurse, and I was rather upset because there were 3 cans of Pepsi on his table in his hospital room. Wasn't happy at all with that. I explained that I'm this man's nutritionist, and Patrick came back, and he sees me talking to the nurse, and he says, "Oh, I see you met my nutritionist, Tom. He's magnificent, isn't he?" And that was really funny. But I said, "Patrick, what are you doing drinking that Pepsi?" He goes, "Oh, I'm not drinking it. They just bring it to me. I don't drink it." Okay. Now, he had metastatic pancreatic cancer that he came to us at a very late stage. And, itchy nose. He came to us at a late stage, and he sadly passed away. But my point is that we're not even being told by these emotional videos or the American Cancer Society or any other pink ribbon group, breast cancer awareness group, that we need to avoid sugar. And that's simply irresponsible. So, in conclusion, I'd like to say that prevention of cancer, all cancers, is way easier than treatment. And so our emphasis needs to be on prevention. We need to know about asparagus and broccoli and blueberries and these foods that have powerful antioxidants. We, of course, know about sulforaphanes in broccoli and compounds called anthocyanidins in blueberries and ellagic acid in raspberries, and things that are very, very powerful in fighting cancer. Amygdalin in apricot kernels. But if all this is true, why is it not in the popular vernacular? Why is it in every single television show that discusses somebody who has cancer? It's like, "Oh my God, Joe, I'm so sorry about that." No, and they hug them and they try to make them feel like, "Oh, we'll try to help you get through this fight." Why the hell does it have to be a fight? Fight? Why do you have to have a fight? The fight is over the fact that you're going to be getting therapies that'll make you disabled or make you feel like heck, feel terrible. Do they tell you about marijuana and it's the way in which it can fight the nausea of chemotherapy and help improve your appetite, improve weight gain, improve response? No. Oh my God, that's something that might make you feel good. But no, they have therapies that have the THC removed, but still contain the anti-cancer principles that are contained within that plant, of which there are over 200 varieties. Some are more effective in one kind of cancer versus the other. But are we going to learn about this? It's starting, but it's taken over 50 years for this to get out into the public eye. So I just want folks to wake up and know that there is a lot that they can do in fighting cancer. They don't have to be anxious. They ought to be concerned if they're given the diagnosis. But a positive attitude will enhance immune function. Your immune system can drop 50% by fear. This is why folks who have AIDS, so-called HIV, their immune system will drop precipitously when they're told they have an invariably fatal illness. Well, of course, if you think you have an illness that's going to kill you, your immune system will go down very dramatically, but it doesn't need to. All right, I've written a few books. I'm going to just review some of them with you. Actually, the 4 most important ones. The mainstream media's anti-vitamin agenda is actually anti-vitamin baloney, and it's the 2nd edition. It basically discusses in detail how the media lies about vitamins, and it discusses in detail one of the Reader's Digest articles about 10 vitamins not to take. Vitamin A, vitamin C, zinc, iron, B3. It's just amazing. Folic acid, all the most popular nutrients, those are the ones that you should not take. All right, we have attention on demand, which is how to overcome adult attention deficit disorder. This is specifically written for those who want to enhance mental focus and attentiveness. It includes advanced memory techniques, the kind that are taught by Harry Lorraine and Jerry Lucas, on how to remember where you put things, what you're doing, where you're going, etc. We have another book called Cardiac Survival, Your Keys to a Healthy Heart and Squeaky Clean Arteries. This is the most comprehensive of the books I've written, and basically in 377 pages discusses how we can both prevent and reverse heart disease. Discusses all the nutrients that we need to be concerned with, and discusses many factors that most folks don't even pay attention to, like the use of copper in prevention and treatment of aneurysms, which of course are an expanded and weakened blood vessel, which if it bursts, you're in big trouble. And the fourth book is How to Prevent and Reverse the Common Cold and the Flu. And this is the boring cover, because I did this myself. My wife did the other covers. Preventing and Reversing the Common Cold and the Flu. And it goes over dispelling some of the myths out there, like 36,000 Americans die of the flu every year, which is not true. It discusses the myth of the flu vaccine, the dangers of that, and shows you ways in which you can beat the common cold and the flu very, very, very quickly, way quicker than the average American who might have these things for 1 or 2 weeks. So that's all I'd have to say for now. If you want to purchase any of my books, they're at ebooksbytom.com, ebooks-by-tom.com. If you want a Skype consultation with me, nutritionist.tom on Skype. And if you want my regular website, it's my name, tompetrie.net. That's all I have to say, folks. Wake up. Don't believe the nonsense out there. You can treat cancer. You will have to find a competent, holistic therapist to treat you or work with you. And there is so much that you can do. Just remember, you can avoid fluoridated water. You can avoid pesticides. You can avoid GMO foods. You can avoid vaccines with dangerous ingredients, which is most of them. You can exercise more. You can practice proper posture so you're getting more oxygen in your tissues. You can avoid sugar, which weakens the immune system. You can eat mostly organic foods so you're not getting pesticides that might be potentially carcinogenic, like cryolite, which is heavy in coffee, tobacco, and grapes, and coffee. You can exercise on a regular basis to give yourself more oxygen. You can do yoga to help your tissues become more oxygenated. And by the way, exercise also removes toxins and bad things from your body as it brings nutrients to your tissues. And of course, you can drink your 8 glasses of water per day to both help bring nutrients to your tissues and get waste out of your tissues. Okay, that's all for now. If you have any questions, you can email me as well. Thank you so much and have a great day.